Hey, welcome to Mainland Cycle Center's new vehicle department. I've been wanting to do this for a while. We're going to finally get a video done on the 2011 ZX10R Ninja. We're looking at an ABS model. Has anti-lock brakes. And we're going to talk a bit about that and some of the other features that are on this bike. This bike is all new from the ground up for 2011. We're doing this video kind of towards the end of 2011, so there's already been lots of press and I'm sure lots of other videos, but anyway, maybe our video will be a little different. We hope you'll enjoy it. But the bike's done very well against its competition in some of the magazine shootouts and that kind of thing. Lots of horsepower. But the big news, I think, with this bike really is some of the electronics on it. This bike has anti-lock brakes. And it has traction control, and then it has the power modes. And some of our competitors have had the power mode option for a little while now, but it's new for Kawasaki. But this bike has the most sophisticated motorcycle anti-lock brake system on the market. And we'll take a look here at the rear brake. This is the sensor for the ABS, and then this is the little trigger for it. But what makes this system special is that it communicates with the ECU to measure wheel speed and some other things, as well as engine RPM and those type of things, throttle position with the brakes. And it communicates very fast. You can see your sensor. This is the trigger. This is the sensor here on the front brakes. But it communicates, the number of times that it communicates back and forth is at a faster rate of speed than any other motorcycle ABS system on the market today. And you know, for some reason the non-ABS bike has been more popular, and I know there's 7 or 8 pounds difference in the weight of the bikes, but I really think that's marginal considering what you get with the ABS brakes. You know, the ABS brakes on this are not really it's not a slap your hand kind of feature. It's a really help you go faster, safer kind of feature, and let you stop faster, safer kind of feature. And I like that. I think if you're mostly riding on the street, you for sure would be well advised to get the ABS model. So ABS brakes. This also has traction control. Now it has several different modes on the traction control. Plus you can turn the traction control off. And we'll take a minute here and look at the dash. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but right here it says SKTRC. That's the Kawasaki traction control, and it says 1, and then there's 2, and then 3, and then off. And so you can turn the traction control off, or you have 3 different modes there. And there's just the aggressiveness of the traction control, how sensitive it is or not on that. So if you're a street bike rider, for riding in the rain, you know, the traction control would be nice. If for some reason you were to run off the road, be in gravel or grass or mud or something like that, the traction control would be a huge benefit there. So I think it's just a great high performance street bike with the traction control. And then you also have the power modes, and I don't know if you can see that too, but there's power, and then it says full power, an M for mid power, and then an L for low power. And the low power is 50 to 60% of the bike's regular power. The mid power just depends on the throttle position, how much power it's going to give you there. While we've got this on, we'll go ahead and look at this instrumentation. This has got a big, bright LED GP style, Grand Prix racing style tachometer. And the best way to see that, this bike's brand new, we don't want to rev it, is turn the bike on or off. I guess we're not going to. And I guess when it's cold, it'll flash up there, but it'll light up across there real nice and bright. You can see it really well in the daylight. You've got speedometer, it does tell you gear position, you've got an odometer, you've got a clock. And the cool thing about this, if you like doing track days, you can change the priority on this instrumentation. You can make it show you gear position here, speedometer here, because on the track you're really less concerned with your speed, but you want to know engine speed and what gear you're in. Anyway, you could do some toggling on that dash to change some of those priorities up there, what you want to see. Alright, these two bikes do have a built-in lap timer. So start and stop here is for the lap timer, and then you've got a lap button right here, but you push that. So if you're doing track days, you can kind of keep track of your lap times. It does come with the Öhlins steering dampener there. Standard equipment, very nice. This does have the Showa. It's an inverted 43 millimeter front fork, and it's the BPF, big piston fork from Showa. It's a new fork from Showa. It's been out a year or two. We've been using it on the ZX10R. It's done really, really well. But it does have the newest, latest shock design from Showa on the front end. Let's see. Other than that, pretty standard controls there. These are an aluminum twin spar frame. This bike is ram air. There's your ram air, so air is forced into here, comes through this tunnel, actually comes into the air box, into the air filter, and then into the motor. This has a completely new motor for 2011. It has titanium valves, bigger exhaust ports. It has a fully titanium exhaust system on it. Excuse me. Uses a cassette type transmission. So what the cassette type transmission means is that normally on some of the older designed bikes, in order to access the transmission gears, you had to remove the motor from the frame, completely disassemble the engine, split the engine cases to access those transmission gears. This has what we call a cassette type transmission, which means if you remove this clutch cover, remove the clutch, there'll be a plate in there with some bolts in it. Remove those bolts, pull that plate, and the transmission will pull right outside the motor. So a transmission repair is much simpler. Instead of being a 2-day job, it's a 2-hour job on this bike. And not that you'll probably ever have to do that, especially if you're a street bike rider. For the racing, that lets them change gears for different tracks and things, but for us street guys, probably not a big plus, but it is nice to know that if you need to do that, you can. While we're here, these do have adjustable foot pegs. You can move these pegs here to down to here. It's a 15 millimeter adjustment, and you can move those pegs down. They're in the up position now from the factory, but they could be lowered. So if you're a taller guy and you need a little more leg room, you can bring those down. Or a street bike rider as opposed to a racer, don't need as much ground cornering clearance. You can lower those a little bit. They also built this bike for doing track days. This rear assembly, the license plate light, the turnstiles, everything comes off very easily. Just a couple of bolts and you can remove that. So if you're going to go do a track day, you can take that stuff off very quickly and easily. Okay. 2-piece seat. It's your gas tank. The new 3-spoke wheels, a little different wheel design than what we've had in the past couple of years. This has a new horizontal backlink rear shock system. Has 4-piston radially mounted calipers in the front. And what we mean by radially mounted, when we say radially mounted, is you can see these 2 bolts here, and they're mounted here. A lot of times on older bikes, what you'll see is you'll see a plate, and then the caliper is mounted to that plate, and that plate is mounted to the fork. And so this one, you have a caliper mounted directly to the fork. So there's just a much better feel on the brakes. And then along with that, we also have a radial master cylinder. And what that means is that as you pull this brake, it is pushing a piston like this. Where on some of the older bikes, the piston moved this way. When you push the brake, even though you're pushing the brake this way, the piston was moving this way. So on this one, the piston is moving this way, and you're pushing the brake this way. So you have a little better leverage on that piston, and it just gives you a better brake feel. So a radial master cylinder. your reservoir. Of course, this bike is super light, super powerful, a lot of fun. They've got the turn signals built into the mirrors again for doing a track day. You unplug the wires, remove the bolts, take the mirrors and the turn signals off all in one shot. I've ridden a couple of these bikes, not a lot of miles on them, but I've ridden them a little bit, and they really handle really well. I'm a sport bike guy, and I really enjoy the sport bikes, at least on the street, and this one's pretty comfortable for me, and I like it. Well, there you have it. That's the 2011 ZX10R. I'm sure that I've left something out, but that was a pretty quick look at it, and lots to talk about on this bike, so it's hard to cover it all. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed our look at the 2011 ZX10R Ninja. We are Mainland Cycle Center. We are located about 30 minutes south of downtown Houston, just off of I-45 in LaMarque, Texas. Our website is mainlandcyclecenter.com. Our phone number is 409-948-4969. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, give us a call, shoot us an email. Come by and see us. We'd love to help you any way we can. Thanks.